The funerals begin today for the various individuals. We know the foreign minister, we know of Raisi himself, we don't know of anybody else, but there were 6 passengers probably in the aircraft, in the helicopter, and 2 pilots. And a 3-day long funeral is starting today, and a huge crowd has already begun to arrive in the northeastern city of Tabriz, and it's going to continue in the holy city of Qom. And at the same time, there are also protests going on, and protests by people who have expressed joy over the death of President Ibrahim Raisi. And one of the reasons is because he was seriously expected to replace the supreme leader Khamenei, and maybe, as one of the protesters says, some people didn't want that to happen, but all in all, this was very good news. All I can say is that the only thing that has made me truly happy over the past 5 years has been the news of Raisi's death. Raisi was in charge at a time when there were mass protests, particularly over the death of Masa Amini, and there we are. We can hear now the story of the noise from the funeral procession. There's a truck with with coffins loaded into it, proceeding down a street, and in front of that there are people on some sort of buggy with cameras. There are large crowds, mostly men, some waving flags, many holding pictures of Raisi or of the supreme leader. And the point was Raisi was not an uncontroversial figure. Matthew Miller for the State Department in Washington said he was a brutal participant in the repression of the Iranian people for nearly 4 decades. He was involved in numerous horrific human rights abuses, including playing a key role in the extrajudicial killing of thousands of political prisoners in 1988. Some of the worst human rights abuses occurred under his tenure as president, especially the human rights abuses against the women and girls of Iran. That said, we regret any loss of life. We don't expect to see anyone die in a helicopter crash, particularly not. He might have added a helicopter that was of American vintage. But that doesn't change the reality of his record, both as a judge and as the president of Iran, the fact that he has blood on his hands. So I think most importantly, our fundamental approach to Iran has not changed and will not change. That's really the statement from the White House. People in the procession, people in the funeral procession are saying that they are devastated. All of us are devastated. We are shocked that we lost such a character that made Iran proud and humiliated the enemies, especially during the past month. We saw how his power humiliated Israel and America, and how Iran was elevated to greatness. Well, there we are. I think it's I think it's telling that this man has died, that the Hamas leaders and the Israeli leaders have all been identified as people who should be summoned to testify, who should be arrested and explain their behavior in the International Criminal Court. All of that on one day. Yeah. Raisi was at the centre of these events.